Hello, if you want to watch exclusive lemon content on What If Naruto, then go to my Boosty. The first link in the description here contains such hot stories for adults, such as What If Naruto was a daddy for Sarada, or Kushina and Mikoto vulgar Naruto mommies. Follow the link and enjoy. I'm waiting for you.
I hope you like it, and if so, don't forget to subscribe. Greetings and a hug. Prologue. The day was October 10th, also known as the day the Yonda and Myokai defeated the Kubino Kitsune, the nine-tailed fox. 5 years had passed since the incident, and all the people of the village were celebrating and cheering the disappearance of the fox. Most of the village knew that the Kubino Kitsune was sealed inside a certain boy named Naruto Uzumaki, and thought that he would grow up to become the incarnation of the nine-tailed fox. Those who did not know realized that he was the fox himself in human form, and resented him along with the rest of the village. The only ones who knew otherwise were the Konohagakure ninjas and Okage, and treated him like a normal kid, but some favored him, while some of the ninja community directly hated him, having a similar mentality to that of the villagers. The blonde container was leaning against the fence of one of the training camps away from the village. That field was number 44, the Forest of Death. From a distance, one would think that he was resting and taking a nap. But if one got closer, he would realize that he was wrong, and he could see that the boy was on the verge of death. Below him was a pool of blood that was constantly increasing. His body was covered with bruises, cuts, stab wounds, and some burns. Several long cuts were visible on his torso, proof that he had been stabbed by those wielding swords, all piercing and cutting internal organs that could not be seen from the outside. The boy's eyes were closed, but he was barely conscious. His wounds were slowly healing until several moments later, a lone shinobi appeared before him. His only proof of being a ninja was the headband tied to his forehead, while the rest of his face and body were hidden due to the black cape he was wearing with the hood covering his head. "You will die today, you disgusting fox demon," the man said as he dragged the boy a little away from the fence. "Prepare to suffer. If this doesn't kill you, the stuff in that forest does, futon. They begrudge." Release of wind. Piercing air bullet, the man shouted as his stomach began to swell. After a few moments, he hit his stomach with his fist, firing a bullet of pure air from his mouth at the boy, who was fired over the fence and into the forest of death. "Good luck, demon, and," said the man as he walked away, hidden by the darkness of the night. The only light source showed her face slightly, revealing a light cyan hair and a mocking smile on her lips. With Naruto? Naruto's only thought as he crossed the trees and the air was one. "Why do they hate me? Why can't I die? Please, kill me." He eventually crashed head-on into a tree, fracturing his skull as he fell to the ground. His hand landed gently on the hilt of a metallic purple sword that he didn't mind noticing. In Naruto's mindscape. After a few moments, Naruto woke up in a sewer. Pipes covered the roof and the sides, with a huge door in front of him, threatening to open. His only resistance was a piece of paper in the center, with, for him, a bunch of doodles. "So they threw me in a sewer this time. Better than the last time, when they tied me to a crib and on top of the Okage tower, and made me fall prematurely. That didn't lead to my death." "You're wrong, boy," Naruto heard coming from a deep, plaintive voice coming from the other side of the door in front of him. "Who's there?" Naruto asked as he watched the darkness behind the door. After a few moments of deafening silence, he saw two huge red and torn eyes appear behind the door. "You're not inside a sewer, brat. You are inside your mental landscape, the subconscious part of your mind. I am the Kubino Kitsune. And you will stop looking at me with those dead eyes of yours, or I will crush you like the insect that you are," the red eyes said as they advanced towards the light, revealing a huge orange fox the size of a small mountain. "I wish you to crush me, so I wouldn't have to suffer anymore," Naruto replied while looking like that, down with sadness. "You are not afraid or wondering why I am here. Why is it so deadly?" the fox demon asked, with pure curiosity filling his red eyes. "Well, I assumed you'd be here, since I theorized that you can't kill something as big and strong as you. It made sense that you were sealed in me." That explained why the villagers tried to kill me daily, and called me Demon Fox and Demon Boy, Naruto calmly explained, as he looked the fox in the eyes. Are you smart, kid? At least more than I thought, but it seems that we are not the unique here, the fox demon declared as he looked to his left, causing Naruto to follow his gaze. What he saw would have caused others to lose control, but not Naruto. He had dealt with death on a daily basis, and the villagers' looks were more terrifying than any he had ever experienced. In front of him was a fat creature 3 meters tall, with torn shorts and no shirt. Scattered all over his body were huge open mouths, all of them salivating. The most notable was a large one, the size of the child, which was upside down, open, with a red eyeball inside, that stared intently into the child's eyes, as if studying his soul. Aren't you afraid of me? The creature asked in a deep, rumbling tone that threatened to shake up the entire mental landscape. No. If anything, you look more like a nice toy that I played with in the past, while my nightmares are much scarier than you look, Naruto replied, staring at the eyeball with his dead eyes that threatened turn, indicating his death, though they did not. It was so disconcerting and deadly that it made the creature and the fox shudder slightly before returning to normal. I see, I'm interested in you, boy. Your eyes reflect pain and hurt, betrayal and an unanswered death wish. I propose a deal, if you show me that you are of a certain quality, allowing me to see your past, your dreams, your soul and your chakra. I will allow you to take hold and sign my heart. Deal? If you can't, I'll save your life and swallow you whole. Do we have a deal? Asked the creature, while continuing to stare intently into the boy's eyes. Deal is done, the boy replied without a moment's hesitation, a faint glimmer of hope shining in his bright cerulean eyes. The creature stepped forward, placed one of its huge fleshy fingers on his forehead, and extracted a small white ball, containing all the boy's memories and dreams. He put it into his mouth, which was on his stomach, and swallowed it whole without hesitation. He remained motionless with his mouth closed for a few moments before opening it again. Boy, your memories are horrible, and your dreams are terrifying. I accept the first 2 conditions, and I will move on to the next 2. The mouth said as he extended his finger again against the boy's chest, where his heart was. He took out a white ball with black touches before swallowing it too, and stood still with his jaws closed for a few moments before opening them again. Your soul shows extreme purity with hints of corruption, perfect for my contract. I'll move on to the last condition now. The creature stated before reaching out and poking Naruto in the stomach, extracting a huge blue ball, the size of Naruto with touches of white, black and red. It opened its jaws so wide that it threatened to split the creature in half before swallowing the ball, and, once again, left it closed for an instant before opening again. Your chakra is much bigger than others. The yin and yang inside are in perfect balance. It shows the chakra of the Kubino Kitsune, which has healed him constantly and daily. Perfect for the contract I'm offering you. Now, boy, the most important thing. Do you accept the contract of the 7 sins? He asked, looking at the blonde guy with his huge. I keep an eye on me. I accept the contract. Tell me the conditions, Naruto replied as he showed more light in his eyes. The conditions are as follows. First, I will train you in the way of the ninja. I will instruct you in every subject so that you will be the perfect ninja. Secondly, you will treat each of the contract members as people, not as monsters or sources of power. Third, you will allow each one you invoke to receive into your mental landscape, and you will allow us to connect with your senses. And you will allow us to establish telepathic links in your mind so that we can converse. And finally, you will kill, destroy and maim all the immortals you encounter, especially one named Orochimaru. Do you accept these terms, Naruto Uzumaki? The creature turned away, waiting for Naruto's answer. I accept these terms, as the Kubino Kitsune also accepts them. After all, I'm not the only one inhabiting this body. Naruto replied, causing both the creature in front of him and the fox to his left to open their eyes in surprise. I accept these terms as well, as long as you allow me to train the child together with you, the fox said. The child that was sealed inside surprised him more and more. All right, here's the scroll. Sign it with your blood, and we can get started, the creature said, as it pulled a large scroll out of the pit of its stomach. It was completely black, and had a white stripe in the center. He opened it, revealing that only one other person had signed the contract. It showed Orochimaru's kanji, but had a large stripe that revealed that he had been forbidden to summon them. Naruto bit his thumb and signed the Naruto Uzumaki kanji in blood. After doing so, the contract disappeared, and with it the creature. In his place stood a tall, pale man with white hair and red eyes. She was wearing a white silk kimono with light cyan waves and dark cyan trim. She was crossing her arms over her chest while staring at the boy. "My name is Gluttony. Those I trust also know me as Shingo," Shingo stated while staring at Naruto. "If you only tell your name to those you trust, why do you tell it to me?" Naruto asked as he cocked his head, genuine curiosity shining in his cerulean eyes. "Because, boy, you have experienced something that even we demons consider cruel, and I am putting all my trust in you. And I hope you don't betray her," and Shingo said before continuing. "Before I continue, I must tell you a few things about the demonic world. First, all demons are born neutral. They do not hate or love humans, deities, or sacred beings. They only show hatred when someone or something tries to take away something that belongs to us. Secondly, the fox sealed in you is one of the 9 infamous Viju. They are, in essence, the gods of the demonic world, and you should treat them with respect. Thirdly, the one who is sealed inside you is Kurama, the last of the Kitsune demon clan, and you should treat him with the respect he deserves. Finally, the others that you will meet later are anger, lust, envy, greed, arrogance, and laziness. You will only meet them when certain conditions are met. If they approve you, they will allow you to summon them from that moment on, and they will give you their sword. All our sins are sealed in swords, and you're lucky to have found mine. You will treat us all with respect. They won't treat us like trash like Orochimaru did. We are here for your benefit, yes, but also to be your teachers, your co-workers, and, if we may, your friends and family." Shingo finished as he sat next to Naruto and crossed his legs. "Okay, understood, Shingo-sensei." Naruto responded by looking at him and Kurama in amazement. "Okay, for now, I want you to keep acting like you used to. Don't face the trash you call villagers. I wish you to enroll in the ninja academy of your village. In the meantime, I want you to fail twice and narrowly pass the 3rd time. In the meantime, I want you to get dressed and behave like a fool. We need others to think that you are weak. That will allow you to surprise and overwhelm them. When one of us says so, you will be able to show all your power. You won't mention any of us, not even Kurama-sama, until we say so. All right." Shingo scolded as he watched the blonde boy. "Yes, Shingo-sensei," the boy said in a calm voice, with the fully renewed life reflected in his eyes. "Okay, now wake up, take my sword, return to your village, and head to your calling. Okage Jiji, you should be completely healed by now. But you are weak, you will have scars, keep in mind that you have lost a lot of blood, and the only reason for the one you're alive right now is thanks to Kurama-sama," said Shingo, getting up and helping the boy to get up too. "It's okay, Shingo-sensei," the boy replied, walking away before stopping halfway and giving himself up. "The turn. Huh. How do I get out of here?" he asked, making both Kurama and Shingo sweat. "Close your eyes and try to focus on a little tug in the back of your mind. Focus only on that and you will wake up. That's how you get back here," Kurama said before closing his eyes to sleep. "Okay, see you later, or soon, or in my thoughts, or in you know what. Forget it, bye," Naruto said before closing his eyes and slowly disappearing out of the mental landscape. Naruto woke up to the sight of a clearing. He was currently leaning on a tree, and the sun was showing light between the trees, which meant that he had just started his ascent into the sky. He must have been here longer than he thought, Naruto thought as he stood up and looked around, studying his surroundings before looking down. And to his left, revealing a large purple sword about 1.5 meters long and 2 feet wide. She had what looked like scratches scattered all over her. The handle was 10 centimeters long and was not covered by anything, revealing purple metal with a vertical scratch on each side. He picked her up and was surprised to find her weightless. "I wonder why it's so light, it seems so heavy," and Naruto thought before receiving an unexpected answer. It's because I've made you its bearer, for you it's weightless. For those whom you trust, and whom you allow to carry it, it feels like they are trying to lift the mountain or cage. Weight is one of your 2 safety measures. I won't tell you what his other security measure is, but I will teach you the first skill. I want you to pick it up and concentrate. Don't close your eyes, and concentrate only on the sword. Try to focus your energy on her. When you feel that you have achieved it, tell me. The Kui, wake up. Gluttony, Shingo said in Naruto's mind, startling him at first, before calming down. All right, let's try this, mix me up. The Kui. Naruto shouted loudly. After a few seconds, the sword began to vibrate slightly, to bring the blonde's attention before what happened next startled him. All the lines that crossed the sword, except those of the handle, were quickly opened, revealing huge jaws with sharp teeth. Some with the tongue out and some without it, where the supposed scratches were before. Okay, Naruto-san, now do the same, but this time say swimming. The Kui, I dream. Gluttony, Shingo said inside his mind. Swimming. The Kui. Naruto shouted once more, his mouth instantly closed, returning to the image of scratches on it. That was great. Well, it's time to go with Okage Gigi. But I don't want to have this in my hand all day, so I should get him a case, Naruto said before Shingo gave him a solution. Naruto-san, place it behind you, on your back, and a case will automatically appear, Shingo said. Naruto obeyed, and placed it on his back. After a few seconds, a piece of black cloth appeared, and wrapped the sword tightly, before passing over his right shoulder and connecting with another piece of cloth on his left hip. The sword was large, and almost eclipsed his shoulders. The blade stopped a few centimeters from the ground, and inside his shoulders, which enhanced the image of his size. That's so cool. Naruto said out loud before running out to meet his grandfather. 30 minutes later, in front of the Okage Tower, Naruto arrived looking like he had just woken up and entered the Okage Tower. Ignoring the stares of the civilians and the sad smile of the secretary, he reached the door leading to the Okage's office and knocked with all his might. After a while, a pass came out from behind the door and Naruto quietly entered. Hey, Okage Gigi. Naruto shouted as he entered and stopped in front of Sarutobi's desk. Naruto, what do I owe the prayer to? The Okage stopped in his tracks before noticing Naruto's appearance and began to boil with rage, releasing his ki, scaring the 3 Ambu in the room before calming down. If it's about my clothes and my looks, don't worry. Kyo Bisama cured me before he died. Someone I respect a lot told me to come here to tell you some things, Naruto said before thinking. What do you want me to tell Shingo-sensei? Tell him everything I've told you. As far as you remember, he's one of the few people you can trust with anything he's told you, Shingo replied. First, Gigi, you can make the Ambo leave the room. It's very important, and it can affect this village, depending on how you take it, Naruto said. Sure, but Naruto, after this, you're going to tell me what happened to you, the worried Okage said before snapping his fingers. Making the Lambu leave, and put some chakra on the privacy seal at the bottom of his desk. For 20 minutes, Naruto informed the former Okage everything he had learned and heard from Shingo, besides their names and karamas. When he finished, the Okage looked at Naruto with amazement in his eyes, wide as plates, before reacting. Naruto, how can I trust those claims? They seem a little implausible to me, the Okage said with obvious concern on his face. Can I show you Shingo-sensei? Go ahead, Naruto-san, Shingo replied as Naruto drew his sword, making the cloth disappear. Mix me up, Lukui. Naruto shouted as the sword came to life. The locale jumped out of his seat, in shock, before calming down and sitting back down. Okay, Naruto-kun, I think I'll follow your plan and the glutonicin one as long as I promise not to hurt you or put you in danger. Sarutobi explained. Naruto, I'm going to teach you your first jutsu right now. Bite your thumb and make yourself bleed, then place your hand on the ground and insert chakra into it, and shout Kuchio say no jutsu. The Kui, Shingo explained. Naruto bit his thumb, hit the ground with his hand and screamed. Kuchio say no jutsu. Lukui. Invocation jutsu. Gluttony. The seals swept across the ground before disappearing in smoke, blinding Naruto and the Sandaime Okage. The smoke cleared away only to reveal Shingo in his human form. "Hi Irizen Sarutobi. My name is Gluttony. Naruto, wait for me outside, please," Shingo said. Naruto obeyed, left the room, and waited for 10 minutes behind the closed door before it opened, and Shingo came out and closed it again. "Okay," Naruto nodded. "I'm going to dissipate, and we'll start your lesson soon. For now, Sarutovizen will take you to the hospital in a few minutes so that you can receive a blood transfusion. Frankly, I'm surprised you haven't fainted yet, and that you've earned my respect in that regard," Shingo said before dissipating, and returning to Naruto's mindscape before continuing. "Besides, tonight, while you are resting, I will bring you here so that, as you humans say, you can fix the mental landscape." "All this sewer water is making me thirsty," the gluttonous man said, causing Naruto to frown slightly in disgust before the Hokage came out. "All right, let's go, Naruto-kun," Irizen said as he walked away with Naruto. Naruto did not imagine that this meeting would change his future and his life for the better. 7 years later. It's been 7 years since Naruto started his training, and 3 years since he joined the academy. He did as his demonic sensei told him, and failed the first 2 years, and is now in his third. Over the years, he has trained in Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, Shurikenjutsu, and has tried to learn Genjutsu, which has proved difficult for him, due to its large reserves of chakra. He practiced the Gluttony sword style, called Devouring Hunger, which involves large sweeps and cuts designed to eliminate several enemies at once, and small stabbing movements with small blows mixed in for when you fight against only one opponent. He also tested his elemental affinity. Their affinities were wind, water and fire, thanks to Kurama. In ninjutsu, he learned one water technique, Suten. Sujineti, element of water. Wall of water formation, one wind technique, Furiton. Datopa, element of wind. Great breakthrough, and 2 fire techniques, Katen. Ankaki no Jutsu, element of fire. Great fireball technique, and Katen. Karakenden, element of fire. Fire dragon flame bullet. He also learned a technique that Kurama created called Kitsune-enge, fox transformation, which made the user transform into whatever they imagined, and it was a physical transformation, rather than a basic illusion. He also learned the Kajiben Sin from Kurama and Shingo, as they thought that his great reserves and his memory recovery would go hand in hand. He learned the Taijutsu posture from Kurama, called Fiery Flow, which involved a quick series of punches and kicks that seemed random that were mixed with Kato chakra, producing a burning effect on everything he hit. He has not mastered the Fiery Flow and the Devouring Hunger yet, but Kurama and Shingo tell him that he is close to mastering them. He also started learning Fuinjutsu on his 10th birthday and found it quite easy, but decided that it shouldn't be his main goal. He learned a Genjutsu that Shingo taught him, part of his Kuisin, part of gluttony, called Fuku, dead hunger, which pretended to be eaten alive from the inside out slowly for 3 hours in a row. During those 7 years, he also met 2 people, Iruka Omino, whom he considered his father figure, and a girl named Tenten. At first, Tenten only spoke to him to learn how to use his sword, but after a while, and following him without him seeing her, he noticed that almost all the villagers shot him with their eyes as soon as they could, and sometimes he saw beer bottle flying towards him and hitting him in the face, while he, not caring, kept walking. After that, she started talking and spending time with him much longer without the goal of seeing his sword. I just wanted to be her friend. Eventually, she found out that she was a little in love with the blonde guy, but she thought it would pass. After a while, he trusted her and allowed her to watch him train, if she promised not to interfere. He never summoned Shingo when she was watching him, and Shingo didn't trust enough in her to allow her to see him. After watching him train, she started to respect him more. Our favorite blonde container is now on his way to the academy to take the Ninja Genie exam. During the years he was enrolled, the Hokage allowed him not to have to show up every day. He only had to show up at least once a month. When he arrived, he acted like an idiot, but all that would change today. After learning that they would match the ladder with the shinobi and the kunoichi of the year, the demons and the demon container changed their plan. They did it once Kurama found out that an Uchiha was going to be nominated for Shinobi of the Year and that he would not be caught or killed near them. He wanted Naruto to completely destroy said Uchiha in all matters. Naruto had crossed glances with the Uchiha from time to time whenever he appeared in class. Naruto entered the class and found all the attention of the class on him, which made him a little uneasy, but he didn't show it. He walked down the center aisle and sat in the left corner, out of sight and hopefully out of mind. However, his hopes were dashed when the same Uchiha Kurama he had told him to destroy in the tests. She came up and stood in front of him. "I like your sword. Give it to me." "I need her," Uchiha said as she looked at Naruto with a grim smile on her face. "Yes, Naruto Baka, give the sword to Sasuke," Sakura and Ino said at the same time as they approached him from behind. "Sure, if you don't mind losing your hand," Naruto said in a condescending tone as he stared into Lucia's black eyes. "What's that supposed to mean, Tobe?" Sasuke asked with a frown. "My sword is special. But if you love her so much, here you go," Naruto said, standing up and leaning her against the wall. Sasuke took it, but was met with 4 open mouths with sharp teeth on the handle, threatening to devour anyone but Naruto's hand if they got close. "Hey, Tobe, what's this?" Sasuke asked as he withdrew his hand. "That's their defense mechanism. It only allows the one who holds it to hold it. If anyone else tries, it will devour his hand," Naruto said as he reached for the handle. Mouths closed as he grabbed it and put it back on his back. "As for the two of you," Naruto pointed out to Ino and Sakura, "you should stop talking about fanatics. The ones who join just to follow their supposed prince end up not surviving in the ninja world. Usually, one of these 3 things happens: or they die, they are crippled for the rest of their life, or they become sex slaves or are raped daily by bandits and other villages. On rare occasions, all 3 things happen. If you don't want any of that, I suggest you stop acting like you're mindless pieces and focus more on your training," Naruto said as he looked Ino and Sakura in the eyes. It seemed they both got the message as they calmed down and walked away with shocked faces. Sasuke returned to his seat, and, at that moment, everyone was looking at Naruto with amazement and shock. "Okay, everyone, time for the Genin Ninja exam. Mizuki, please pass this out to the class. Feel free to cheat, but if you get caught, you will automatically fail," Iruka said as he walked into the class, handed Mizuki a wad of papers, and stood in front of her podium. Once the papers were distributed, Iruka shouted "Start," and everyone started their exam. Naruto immediately realized that his exam was not of Genin Ninja, but of Chunin. This made him a little angry, but then he calmed down and started writing down the answers as if he knew them by heart. Which technically he did, since Shingo and Kurama repeated everything they could about the ninja world to him on a daily basis. After 40 minutes, Iruka shouted loudly. And they all finished. After qualifying the tests, Naruto got the first place in the written test. Iruka was surprised to find out that it was a Chunin test and that all the answers were correct and without errors. Iruka, exultant, began to take all the students to the training ground where the targets were. "Okay, students, one by one, go test your accuracy. They have to hit these 5 targets on or around the red dots to get points. We will go in alphabetical order. Aburame Shino first," Iruka said as Shino walked forward with his usual coat covering half of his face. Shino got an 8-10, and Mata got a 7-10, and not an 8-10, Sakura a 6-10, Kiba an 8-10. Shikamaru somehow managed an 8-5-10, Chuji a 7-10, and Sasuke a 9-10. "Well, finally, Naruto Uzumaki," Iruka shouted as Naruto advanced. He examined the targets and found that 3 were motionless. One at 2 meters, another at 4, and the last one at 6. There were 2 moving targets, one at 5 meters, and one at 8. Naruto yawned and threw the 5 kunai and shurikens carelessly. He managed to hit all the targets of the red dot, except the last one on the move. Only half of the kunai he threw at him hit the target. Naruto Uzumaki, 9-5. Iruka said proudly as he brought all the students, including the furious Sasuke, inside. "Well, for the final exam, everyone will enter that room and perform the 3 jutsus of the academy. If they pass, the judges will give them their headbands. If they fail, they will drop out of the academy and hope to pass next year. Okay, please go in alphabetical order. Aboramashino first, said Iruka as he entered the room with the judges. Shino, Inata, Hino, Sakura, Sasuke, Chuji, Shikamaru, and Kiba entered and left with extra day, along with other students. Well, I guess it's my turn, Naruto said loudly as he got up from his seat. Destroy them, child, he heard Kurama say in his head as he headed for the door. He walked in and was met with the furious stares of 3 judges. Mizuki, the Hokage, who looked at Naruto with pride because he knew the plan, and Iruka, who hoped that Naruto would approve it to finally become a ninja. Naruto, please perform the eng, Sarutobi said as he watched Naruto for any hint of nervousness or hesitation. And was glad he didn't find none. Naruto performed the eng effortlessly, but it seemed like he was trying hard. Now, please do the kawarimi, the Hokage said, pleased with Naruto's performance. Naruto effortlessly did the kawarimi again, replacing himself with a log before reappearing, but he seemed exhausted. After this, of course, was a performance. Okay, now please, do the final jutsu. The Bunsen. The Sandaime said with hope and a slight twinkle of amusement in his aging eyes. Naruto made the hand seals for the Bunsen, but at the last moment. He quickly changed the last seal to that of Kage Bunsen and created 3 other clones of himself. Once again, he feigned tiredness before dispelling them. Congratulations, Naruto, you passed the genius exam. Please come and get your headband, the Hokage said as he motioned for Mizuki to enter him. To deliver his. As she reached out, Mizuki purposely dropped her hoping that she would fall to the ground, but was surprised when Naruto stopped her at the last second and kicked her, making her fly in front of him. Before grabbing her and smiling proudly. Thank you, Mizuki is afraid, see you later, Okageji. Naruto said as he left, leaving behind a scene where El Hokage and Iruka were staring at Mizuki with a dangerous look. Naruto left the classroom and headed to training camp number 42, which consisted of a huge lake and a vast grassy plain with no trees in sight. Naruto observed his surroundings before taking off his orange jumpsuit, remaining only with a black undershirt and baggy white shorts. He took off his t-shirt to reveal the numerous scars that covered his torso and arms, the most notable being the large cut marks in his chest cavity. After Naruto injected chakra into his chest, he revealed a large sealing matrix that ran down his arms and legs, until it reached his wrists and ankles. This was the sealing die for a resistance seal. It showed the box of the 4 in the middle of his chest. There were 10 levels for a resistance seal, and the one he was on felt like he was trying to break through a wall of hardened mud. If you studied their wrists and ankles, you would see small pieces of metal tied to them that had weight stamps on them. The ones on her wrists showed the 90-pound kanji, and the ones on her ankles showed the 150-pound kanji. Naruto spent the next 4 hours with 100 clones doing their kenjutsu and taijutsu tastings, while another 100 wrestled on an outcrop of the lake above the water. Naruto himself was sitting in the water in the middle of the lake while trying to turn a senbon needle on his finger, and constantly failed. His sensei wanted him to do the chakra exercises himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't know the pain and the sense of accomplishment of completing the hard work. If you studied her body, you would see that most of her baby fat had disappeared from her face and body. But there was still some left there. He had the definition of a 6. But he didn't really have one, as his teachers didn't want him to become what they called a muscle head. After training for 4 hours, Naruto got dressed again and ran back to the village. When he arrived, he started running around the walls for an hour, after completing his 5 mandatory daily laps that increased every month. He arrived at the door practically exhausted and started on the way home. The next day, Naruto woke up relatively recharged and looked at his watch, which showed 8 a.m. And he still had an hour to go to the academy. She went into the kitchen and started making cereal. After eating it at a speed that would make Gluttony jealous, he got up, went to the bathroom, and took a 10-minute cold shower. Since the landlord never gave him warm water, he was already used to it, but he was beginning to wonder how he would feel if he had warm water. After finishing showering and going out alone with her penguin-style boxers, she went to her closet. Inside was full of orange Kill Me Now jumpsuits. The only reason he had used and bought them was because Shingo said it would improve his stealth skills if he could escape the Zumbu with them, and allow him to improve the image of being the village idiot. He took out all the overalls and put them in a bag. He threw the bag into a garbage can and carried it to a safe distance, away from any object that could catch fire. Then, he made the hand signals for a simple Kato jutsu and set fire to the clothes and the trash can. After a while, the clothes had turned to ashes, so he performed a simple sutonjutsu to put out the small flames. After cleaning the ashes, he went to his closet and took out a box. There were clothes inside that, in the past, would have looked too big on her. But he bought it in advance. Since Naruto was now 1.57 m tall, the clothes would fit him well. He took out his clothes and started to get dressed. When he finished, he looked at himself in the mirror to see how he was doing. He was now wearing ambo black trousers and black steel-toed shoes. He was carrying a senbon backpack on his left shoulder, a shuriken backpack on his left leg, and a cradle and backpack on his right. He was wearing a black short-sleeved shirt with a mesh armor underneath. He had bandages around his shoulders and a parchment backpack on his lower back, where he kept the scrolls he was learning. In short, he looked like a very lethal ninja. After finishing his studies, he headed to the academy with his purple sword on his back. He jumped from rooftop to rooftop and reached the academy in no less than 10 minutes. He entered the building and went to the door of his love. He had arrived a little earlier, so there was no one inside except Shikamaru and Shino. The latter was passed out at his desk, while the former was staring at an insect perched on his finger. Naruto had nothing against them, and in fact, he liked them. They were calm and took their ninja responsibilities seriously. Even if one of them was constantly sleeping, he had proved to be the smartest one in the class. If Naruto had to evaluate his knowledge throughout the class, he would rank as the fourth most intelligent, right behind Sakura, who occupied the third position, and Shino, the second. After waiting a few moments, and after a snoring Nara, the students began to enter. He realized that Sakura and Hino hadn't arrived yet. After a while, they started hearing screams from outside the classroom, from the two missing students. Upon entering, no one expected them to discuss why. "No, I said I need aloe vera stems to heal burns and cuts from the equipment I've been assigned to. I want to be a respected doctor, and I need you to give them to me. Could you help me, Ino-chan?" Sakura begged as she entered, surprising some. With her new clothes. Instead of the red mini dress she used to wear, she wore a black version with gray trim. He wore the typical black leggings underneath and carries shurikens and kyune on his left and right arm, respectively. "I'm sorry, Sakura-chan, but I don't have one. If you help me to train my strength so that I can be as strong as you, I will try to find you some," Hino said as he followed her inside. She was wearing the same outfit as before, but instead it was a darker purple, and she had a senbon bundle on her right leg, and a scroll bundle just above her waist, where the headband was located. The fact that they did not call each other Frente and Inorijona, and that they talked about getting serious, in addition to their outfit change, surprised and amazed everyone in the class. Looks like they took what I said seriously. Well, now they will become respectful and powerful ninjas, Naruto thought, noticing that they were getting closer. "Hey, Naruto, we just wanted to thank you for the reprimand yesterday. It helped me a lot. I stopped the diet and started training seriously, so, by the way, thank you," Sakura said as she and No arrived in front of her desk. "Yeah, after thinking about it, the whole fan thing seemed a little silly to me, so thank you very much," Naruto said Hino as he approached Sakura. "It was nothing. As long as they take their training seriously, I don't care. But I suggest you find a seat. Iruka-sensei will be here soon," Naruto said, with a sincere smile. That made most of the girls in his class blush before returning to normal. After finishing their sentence, they both made a respectful bow and headed to the other side of the classroom to continue talking about their training. A few moments later, Iruka entered the classroom. "All right, here are all the teams." "Team 1, Iruka said as Naruto ignored him until something relevant to him arrived. "Team 7 consists of Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba, and Nuzuka Izai, whom they will meet later. Suzansei Honin is Kakashi Attack. Team 8 consists of Inada Yuga, Shino Aburame, and Sakura Aruno. Susansei, Honen, Scalina, and Yui. Team 9 is still active, so I'll move on to Team 10. The 10th team consists of Shikamaru Nara, Chuji Akamichi, and Inoi Manaka. Your Honen sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Finally, the 11th team is special, as it is the first one-man team. Team 11 consists of Naruto Uzumaki, and his Honen sensei is Hiko Hayate. Well, I wish you all luck and experience in the ninja world. I hope to see you again one day. Goodbye, Iruka said as he left the classroom. Everyone in the classroom started talking to each other. Over the course of 10 minutes, teams 1 through 6 were called. A girl with red eyes and long unruly hair came to the classroom. Team 8, he shouted. Sakura, Shino, and Jinata stood up and walked towards her, following her out of the classroom. After a few moments, a gruff man with a cigarette in his mouth came into the classroom. Team 10, come with me, he said as Shikamaru, Chuji, and No got up and followed him. After a few moments, a Cyclopean ninja entered. Team 7, come on, he said with a smile as Kiba and Sasuke got up and followed him. After a few minutes of silence, Naruto was left alone and decided to study. He took out a scroll for advanced chakra manipulation and began his training with a senbon needle. A few minutes later, a sick man arrived. Team 2, 11. He asked while staring at Naruto. Naruto rolled up the scroll he was reading and walked towards it. See you, cough on the roof, the man said as he disappeared into leafy shunsin. Naruto followed with a shunsin of his own, made of water, fire, wind, and darkness. They reached the roof at the same time, slightly surprising Heku. Okay, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Heku Ayat. I like swords, my girlfriend Yuruga Yuzuki, and Kenjutsu. I don't like the arrogant or the lazy. My hobbies are training and studying swords. My dream is to become the best swordsman of the 5 great nations. Heku said, forgetting to keep his sick image, something that Naruto noticed. He made a gesture towards Naruto, and he began his presentation. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like Shingo Sensei, Kyugi-sama, training and ramen. I hate those who can't get over the past, the disrespect, and the 3 minutes it takes for ramen to cook. My hobbies are training, learning new things, reading, and talking with Shingo Sensei and Kyubi-sama. My dream is to kill Orochimaru for hurting Shingo Sensei and become the best Hokage ever, Naruto told his new sensei. Good job, now I have some questions. Heku was interrupted by Naruto. Heku Sensei, if it's Kyubi-sama and Shingo Sensei, then you'll have to talk to Hokage Gigi about it, Naruto said before shutting up. Okay, so I have 2 questions. What do you also handle that sword and what style do you use? Heku asked, putting aside his sick attitude towards his new student, as he assumed that Naruto had already figured out that it was a performance. Shingo Sensei says that I am at the level of a high genin and a low chunin with him. He said the style is called Devouring Hunger, Naruto said, watching his new sensei for any hint of deceit or malice. And was glad he didn't find any. Well, Naruto, for now we are going to training camp 11, and you will train with me in taijutsu, kenjutsu and ninjutsu, so that I can understand well how to train you. All right. Heku asked while looking Naruto in the eyes, with flashes of emotion and power. Okay, we're leaving, Naruto said before jumping on the roof railing and heading to training camp 11 with Heku behind him. They arrived at training camp 11 shortly after, and Naruto was surprised to discover that it was actually a semi-small forest, with a small lake and 10 wooden stumps in a circle with targets on the front, top and back. Near the lake there were wooden, metal and concrete training dolls to practice. To the left of the forest was a large grassy plain that stretched as far as the eye could see. Quite a big and interesting training ground. I have to ask you before I start, Geku-sensei. My sword is special, and I was wondering if you wanted to test it with its unleashed powers, or just use it for kenjutsu. And use my style against you, Naruto asked with a serious expression. Use your kenjutsu style, Naruto, and then you can surprise me with all its power in the missions. For now, I'm going to set this timer for 10 minutes. During that time, you can only use kenjutsu against me, Heku said as he pulled a timer out from behind him. and placed it on one of the many logs in the circle, heading to the center. With Naruto following him. They stood face to face, and, after a few moments, Naruto untied his sword, which he was carrying on his back, and placed it in front of Heku, with both hands on the hilt. It begins. Heku said as he ran towards Naruto, pulling his sword out of the sheath he was carrying on his back. He made a vertical cut towards Naruto that was easily blocked before making another quick series of cuts aimed at Naruto's torso. That were blocked but with more difficulty. At this point, all Naruto could do was block and dodge while being pressed backwards. Every time Naruto saw an opening, it was quickly covered with another cut towards Naruto's torso. Naruto finally managed to land a blow when Heku threw his body forward too purposefully, and Naruto hit his left side with the blunt side of Naruto's sword. Heku jumped at the last second, but he was still hit, causing minimal damage, but the blunt force trauma still hurt him a lot. Naruto threw his sword at Heku, and Heku clung to its hilt, planning to throw it back, but was surprised when, instead of throwing it back, he kept flying forward. She went ahead, taking Heku with her, and landed on the ground, throwing Heku to the plains. Naruto ran after him throughout the whole thing, and lunged forward clutching his sword on the way. He arrived in front of Heku, and just before he attacked, the stopwatch went off. Naruto stopped the sword just before it cut Heku in half, with the tip right over his head. "Good job, Naruto," Heku said as he got up with Naruto helping him along the way. "Why couldn't I stop your sword from flying after you threw it?" he asked, waiting for an answer. "My sword is special. It has two defense mechanisms. One is that for those who wield it is weightless, but for those who trust in it, it weighs as much as the mountain or cage and more," Naruto explained as they returned to the stopwatch. "I see. Good job using it to your advantage. It was a good planning, and you managed to do. On the fly, I'm impressed. But your kenjutsu could be improved more," Jeku said as he returned to the stopwatch. "It's okay, Naruto. 10 more minutes, but only taijutsu this time," Jeku said as he put his sword down next to the stopwatch, and Naruto did the same. "Sensei, my taijutsu includes using Katen chakra to burn my enemies when attacking. Do you want me to use chakra or just taijutsu?" Naruto asked as he made his way to the center of the log circle, closely followed by Heku. "Just use taijutsu, Naruto," Heku said as Naruto turned, and they settled into their positions. Heku adopted a basic Honen posture, with his legs spread and his right leg forward. The right arm extended with the hand in the lotus position. The left hand, crouched to the side, with the inverted fist facing up. Naruto spread his legs, while dragging his right foot slightly back and to the side of the left one. He had his right arm by his shoulder, with his hand forming a fist next to his face. The left arm, stretched out a little outward, closed the hand in a semi-open fist. "It begins," Heku said as Naruto ran forward. Naruto threw a right hook towards Jeku's face, which was easily blocked by his right hand. Naruto made an uppercut with his left hand, throwing himself into the air at the same time that Jeku dodged just before it hit. Naruto spun in the air using Jeku as leverage, and tried to give him a spinning kick in the face, which Jeku blocked, making him slip a few meters away. Naruto ran forward and slid between Jeku's legs and grabbed both of them with his hands at the same time. Naruto got up while still holding on, which in turn caused him to stumble to Jeku and threw him into the air a few feet above the ground before Jeku turned around and landed on his feet. Naruto ran forward and aimed a quick amount of punches at Jeku's face that were going at the speed of Chunon's level. Jeku managed to block them all with ease before another right hook reached his face, which he grabbed. Naruto at the same time threw another punch towards Heku's stomach, which landed painfully because Heku couldn't see him, as the fist in front of his face that he was holding was blocking his vision. Heku slid back a couple of feet before looking up from his position, slightly bent over. Naruto was in the air and quickly descending on Heku, and just before his punch landed on Heku's head, the timer sounded. Naruto immediately changed his position, and instead of landing a punch on Heku's skull, he landed behind him and stayed still, before turning around and bowing to Heku. "Thank you very much for this experience, Sensei. I can proudly say now that I was able to slightly challenge my sensei in taijutsu, Naruto said before standing up. It's okay, Naruto. Now I want you to show me the most powerful jutsu you know for the elements. The Hokage told me that you already know your elemental affinities, so please prove them to me, Heku said before walking towards the lake. And standing in front of it, signaling Naruto to continue. Katen. Karakenden. Liberation. A fire. Flame bullet from the fire dragon, Naruto shouted after making the necessary hand signals. After that, his cheeks puffed up, and he extinguished the fire. He quickly took the form of a medium-sized dragon, the size of a large tree, and expelled 3 bullets of flames into the lake. Before they turned into steam, Naruto then began to perform the hand signals for his next jutsu. Suten. Suijineki. Release of water. Wall of water formation, Naruto shouted as his cheeks puffed up again. After a few seconds, he exhaled, and water started gushing out of his mouth like a fire hose, creating a big wall of water in front of him for a few moments before stopping, and the water stopped in the lake. Naruto then made more hand signals and shouted his next and last jutsu. Futon. Datopa. Release of wind. Big breakthrough. After saying those words, the wind started to pick up and quickly blew in front of him, throwing the water violently in all directions, before finally calming down. So, you have 3 elementary affinities, huh? That's fine. Maybe you can create a sub-element like boil, burn or ice if you train hard enough. Or maybe you can create a whole new sub-element involving all 3. The Hokage told me that you can create Kajiban without, which means that you can improve your fire and water techniques with wind techniques. Which basically means that you can create collaboration without having to have another person with you. Now, let's talk about the purpose of our team. Our purpose is murder, elimination, and support. Since you can create a small army and continue without problems, the elimination missions will be easier. And we will be able to perform reconnaissance missions with your clones. We will perform support missions, which means that we will help other teams on missions. On rare occasions, we can even help other village teams on missions. For now, let's go to the mission center and get. Let's follow some D ranges to get started. The minimum requirement for C rank quests is 50 D ranks. You should be able to do that easily thanks to your shadow clones, but I advise you not to use them all the time. It will help you build the character if you do it by yourself and will not allow you to depend from them all the time. Then we will do your training for 4 hours until 6 p.m. We will train from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. In the mornings, we will do rank missions until 2 p.m. and then resume your training afterwards until 6 p.m. On Sundays, we will cut the training and mission time in half so that you have noon to relax and rest. For now, the Hokage said that you have another sensei who is currently training with you. I'll help you with what you're working on now, but tomorrow I want you to bring that sensei here so we can train together. What are you working on at the moment? Jeku gave a lecture with Naruto's full attention on him, the excitement bouncing off his cerulean orbs. Well, since I already know how to walk on trees and water, and I've done the crib and swivel exercise, I was going to do the swivel chair while doing the exercise. From sitting on the water in the middle of the lake, Naruto replied, staring at his sensei, showing all his attention. All right, we'll do that. Make your clones keep doing the same thing you were doing before and let them do it while we do missions. This will help you to train in other subjects. For now, follow me so we can do that spinning senbon exercise. I will try to help you if I can, Heku said with a sincere smile, feeling more and more sympathy for his student. Later that night, Naruto returned home more tired than ever. After a long day of training, Naruto understood why the other sensei were making fun of him when they announced that his teacher was Hekawate. Now I understood his nickname. Ayat, the slave owner. Mission to Wave Part 1. It had been just over 2 months since Naruto first got his Honen sensei and Heku Ayat. During those 2 months, Naruto has been training with Heku and Shingo in Kenjutsu. Although Naruto never summoned Shingo in front of Heku and Heku has only met him once, when Shingo had told him that they could not teach him at the same time due to conditions that he should not know until the Hokage or Naruto Lo. they will consider ready. During those 2 months, Naruto learned one more technique for gluttony, called F+2, feeding. What F more did was not that wherever he cut, whether he hit the enemy or not, a small mouth that resembled those of his sword would form. And its size depended on how big the cut was. After forming, she would eat anything in front of her or around, until the object she was eating disappeared, or she lost energy. The maximum time Naruto could keep for the technique, no matter his size, was a maximum of 15 seconds. Naruto completed the Hero Senbon and sitting in the water technique, and was now working on incorporating elemental chakra into gluttony. Shingo said that gluttony could acquire additional abilities depending on the type of chakra that was applied to it. The effects would always be different for each person and chakra, and Naruto hadn't achieved that yet. Just now, Naruto and Jeku were on their way to the Hokage office to get their first C rank. They had completed 52 ranks from Ijuku decided he was ready. Okay, the clones that Naruto could make accelerated that process, but they prepared it even more. They came to the door of the Hokage and heard screams. Inside, Naruto, thinking that the Hokage was under attack, ran inside and attacked with his drawn sword. Only to enter a scene of Sasuke banging his hands on the desk of the Hokage, Kakashi shaking his head in disappointment. A strange pale guy looking at Naruto with the most fake smile that I had never seen, and that I was looking at Sasuke like he was crazy. Naruto sheathed his sword and decided to find out what was going on. And what exactly is going on here? Why is the Uchiha yelling at the Hokage? Naruto asked maliciously, as he hated the disrespect the Uchiha showed him. To their leader. Naruto. It's nice to see you, boy. Sorry, Sasuke said he was tired of accepting D rank missions and wanted a C rank to, as he said himself, demonstrate his power. Said the old Hokage, watching Naruto curiously, thinking about what he could do. Really? And why do you disrespect the Hokage in his own office, in his village, by demonstrating your power? Naruto asked, letting out a bit of a killer instinct towards Sasuke. This old bastard, Sasuke, was interrupted by Naruto's sword just below his neck, ready to cut off his head. Excuse me, do you want to finish that sentence, or do you want to leave? I'm sure you'd love to visit your whole family again, right? Naruto asked, releasing all his ki. He did not frighten the Anbu, the Hokage, or the Honin, but he did frighten the Genin who were there, except the pale one. Hokage Jiji, how many ranks have you completed? Naruto asked as he sheathed his sword. 36 Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said with amusement raining his eyes. Well, Sasuke is afraid, you need to complete 14 extra ranks before you can get a C rank quest. That's only if the Hokage allows you to accept more missions due to the blatant disrespect and malice you've shown him, Naruto said, staring him dead in the eye. After a few moments of silence, Sasuke stormed out of the room, followed shortly after by Kakashi, Kiba, and the pale boy. Well, Hokage Jiji, I'm here for my first C rank, Naruto said, getting firm. All right, Naruto, you arrived just in time. Team 8 has accepted a C rank mission to protect a bridge builder while they take him to Nami no Kumi and protect him until the bridge is finished. This will also be his first C rank mission. For you, this is a support and elimination mission. I want you to help them in their mission, but at the same time, I want you to eliminate Gato and his bandits. To free Nami no Kumi from his domain. What you do with their funds and stuff like that is none of my business. During the process, you can recruit anyone you want to join our village, as long as it is useful. Do you accept this mission? He lectured the Hokage, waiting for Naruto's response. I accept this mission, Hokage-sama. Naruto replied while taking a bow. Well, your mission starts tomorrow at 8 a.m. You will meet at the front door with Team 8 and your client Tazuna. This mission lasts 2 weeks, and I suggest you pack properly. The Hokage explained, and, as soon as he finished, Naruto left. Wow, Hokage-sama, he sure has a tough opponent to beat. I didn't even see him move, Lemur said from behind the couch. On the back left side of the office. Of course I do. Now stop talking to each other and get ready for any new ninja Naruto might bring back. The Hokage said as he stood up and looked out the window. Hello, Hokage-sama, the Embu said as they left without a trace. With Naruto, the next day, Naruto was heading to the front door. He had packed for the 2 weeks he would be away and told Tenten and Iruka about his mission. Jeku was walking beside him, and they were approaching the huge main doors. When he arrived, he looked around and saw Team 8 with Tazuna to the left of the open door, leaning on the door. He walked towards them and received an immediate response from the red-eyed girl. "They're from Team 11. The girl asked as she took a step forward. He watched Jeku and Naruto and had to admit that they didn't look like anything out of the world, even knowing Jeku's amazing training method. "It's us. My name is Jeku Ayat, and this is ours. Naruto Yuzu Maki. We're here to help you on your mission," Heku said, pretending to be sick. "I see. My name is Kushina, and I am the Honin sensei of Team 8. They are Imada Yuga, Shino Aburame, and Sakura Aruno. The old drunk over there is Tazuna, the bridge builder. We should leave. The sooner we leave, the faster we will arrive," Kushina said, and, pointing at the people before leaving. 2 hours of walking later. "Then Kochi said he wanted to marry my daughter. Can you believe it? Ha 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 ha," Tazuna said while walking next to Naruto. Over the course of 2 hours, Naruto had managed to get the man to recover and chat with him to pass the time. As they continued walking, Naruto noticed a puddle and immediately realized that it was a genjutsu. He looked back and made a sign to Heku and Kushina, and to whom they replied. As we passed the puddle, 2 people appeared. Both were wearing clawed gloves and chains. They ran forward and wrapped the 2 sensei up before pulling, splashing everyone with blood and viscera. Naruto immediately jumped back and drew his sword. Everyone else was paralyzed by fear and disgust. Naruto punched the brother on the right, who was effectively blocked, before Naruto threw himself a series of cuts and stabs that cut small gashes in the first brother's skin. Naruto looked over and noticed that the second brother was running towards Tazuna. Naruto jumped behind the first brother and arrived behind the second. He cut the Achilles tendon of the second brother and jumped to the first brother. Naruto cut the first brother's stomach only to fail because the brother jumped backwards. Naruto ran forward while he was still in the air and came up behind him. He tried to cut his Achilles tendon as well, but missed by a few inches. Naruto jumped forward to quickly close the distance and managed to cut both Achilles tendons in his legs before sheathing his sword again. "All right, sensei, you can leave now," Naruto said, surprising Hinata, Shino, and Sakura. After saying that, Kurena and Heku came out of some bushes by the side of the road and walked towards the group. Team 8 looked back to where their sensei's death was, and they found mutilated logs. "Good job, Naruto. Good reactions, and a good way to protect your colleagues and your client," Heku commented while patting Naruto on the shoulder. Forgetting his sickly performance. "I knew it was a performance," Kurena announced, and while pointing at Heku with a triumphant smile on her face. "Shit. I hate it when I forget to play sick with you, Naruto." Geku complained in a whiny voice as Naruto returned with the rest of the group, with the sensei hot on his heels. "I don't get it. You guys aren't dead, and Naruto, why weren't you surprised and disgusted when we supposedly lost our senses?" Sakura asked, surprise reflected on her face. "You get used to seeing blood and viscera when you see your own every day as a kid," was Naruto's only response, as he walked up to the 2 brothers and tied them up. After tying them up, Naruto sat down in front of them and started negotiating. "All right, Gozu, Mizu, you have 2 options. They can join our village and try to recruit whoever they want, or die here. You choose," Naruto said as he stared at them. "And why should we listen to you? You will kill us before we reach your stupid village," Gozu said, looking Naruto in the eyes, looking for any sign of deception. And was surprised to find none. "Yes, and you will massacre everyone we bring with us anyway," Mizu said as he looked down, the sadness evident in his brown eyes. "Listen, I don't know what you've experienced in your life, but I don't do that kind of thing, and if someone tried, I would protect you and whoever you bring with you with my life. If I didn't, at least I'd give you enough time to escape. Just trust me, okay?" Naruto said, with sadness and sincerity as the only things visible on his face and his cerulean eyes. "Brother, he's not lying, should we do it?" Gozu asked, turning to his brother with hope in his voice. "I think we should, brother. He shows no signs of lying or deceit." "I think we can trust him," Mizo said before turning to Naruto and continuing. "But if we find out that you are lying or deceiving us, we and whoever we bring will mutilate you," Mizu shouted, looking Naruto in the eyes. After a few seconds of silence, and after Naruto untied his bonds, they both stood up before kneeling down, as they had their Achilles tendon cut, and then they talked. "Don't judge the people we're trying to bring in and recruit by their past, okay? They're only 2 people, but they've done bad things in the past," Mizu said as he watched Naruto bend over to examine his Achilles tendon. "It's okay, I don't care about their past, as long as they agree to join us," Naruto said as he placed his hands over the wounds and concentrated part of Kurama's chakra on them, healing them instantly before standing up. "Well, their names are Zabuza and Akumamoki. You will meet them soon, we will be there with them." "See you soon, Naruto-san," Gozu said as he and Mizu disappeared. "Ugh, this is very confusing, let's ignore it for now and ask Tazuna-san why they were hired to attack us," Sakura said before turning to Tazuna and glaring at him. "Forget about it, Sakura-san. I already know why, and I'm going to finish my mission. Feel free to join me if you want," Naruto said as he walked back to the group and asked Tazuna to guide them. After saying that, everyone else reluctantly agreed and followed them. Another 2 hours later, Team 11, Team 8, and Tazuna got off the boat and entered the land of Nami no Kumi. As they moved forward, they encountered a fog that thickened every second until they lost their sight and had to stop. At last, Heku shouted as everyone but Naruto fell to the ground. Naruto unsheathed his sword at breakneck speed and struck it with a saber that would have decapitated him had he not drawn it. The sword flew upwards until it landed on the ground, with the hilt pointing to the sky. After a few seconds, Gozu, Mizu, Aku, and Zabuza appeared around the sword. Zabuza grabbed it and put it on his back before walking towards Naruto, who also sheathed his. "Are you Naruto?" Zabuza asked while pointing at the blonde boy. "Yes, it's me, you must be Zabuza. Kazumi Mizumi, they talked about you. Do you accept my offer?" Naruto asked, facing Zabuza unfazed, while the rest of the group just watched. "It depends. Why should I accept it, and what will happen to us if we do?" continued Zabuza, obviously distrustful of the boy who could deflect his sword. "You should accept, so you don't have to run away anymore and can live a normal life, or become a Kono Agakure ninja. Honestly, I don't know what will happen if you accept, but I'm telling you this. If something happens to you or tries to happen to you, I will stop it with all my might," Naruto said as he stared into Zabuza's eyes. After a few seconds of looking at him, Zabuza burst out laughing out loud. "Goz, Mizu, it's just like you said. I like you, kid. Of course we come together. Just one thing. I'll be able to decapitate Cat when the time comes." "All right," Zabuza said as she finished her fit of laughter. "Of course, as long as you allow me to show you one of my Cuisinums." "I need to practice with him," Naruto said as Zabuza shook her head in agreement. And they walked back towards the group, who was surprised by the result except Heku. "So, what kind of sword is that, kid?" Zabuza asked while pointing at Naruto's sword. 3 hours later, Naruto and his group arrived at Tazuna's house, all exhausted except Zabuza, Heku, and Naruto. Tazuna went to the door and knocked with all her might. Some noises were heard behind. After a few seconds of waiting, it opened and a blue-haired girl appeared. "Dad, you're home now." The excited and happy girl screamed as she jumped on him and hugged him with all her might. "Yes, Tsunami, I'm home now. Stop hugging me and let me and these kind people in," Tazuna said as her daughter finally let go of him from her torso. "Oh, I'm sorry, father. Hi, my name is Tsunami, and who are you?" he asked with an innocent smile on his face. "We are the ninjas who were hired to protect your father until the bridge is finished," Naruto said as he followed Tsunami and Tazuna inside. Mission to Wei. Part 2. Naruto, Team 8, Aku and Zabuza stayed and took care of Tazuna while he completed the bridge for the last month. The reason it took so long was because Naruto decided not to have the help of his Kajiban Sin. Because he thought that with the hard work of the workers they would appreciate it more since they had no support. But he finally had to give in the last week because the workers kept quitting, fearing that Gato would make their lives worse. So during the last week, when 3 other workers quit, leaving Tazuna with only 12 workers left, Naruto created 150 Kajiban Sin to help finish. And they would be done by the end of the week. During the week, Zabuza had trained Naruto in his Kijutsu and in his Suten affinity by teaching him 3 jutsu. Those 3 are Suten, Kirigakure no Jutsu, Water Release, Hidden Fog Technique, Mizuban without no Jutsu, Water Clone Technique, and his MRI no Jutsu, Water Prison Technique. During this time, he also learned a new Kui Sim, called Sapurito Kiga, Divided Hunger, which uses one of the new abilities Naruto discovered the Kui had after trying to inject wind chakra into the sword while it was activated. What happened surprised and excited him. When he injected wind chakra into the sword, the mouths that went through it and the external mouths when using F+2, feeding, generated a vacuum effect, a massive torrent of wind that sucked everything in its path towards the mouths. They ate or absorbed what had come in. With his Kiga cigar, he would create 2 Kajibunsen that moved to the left and right of the target and use F+2 to create the biggest mouths possible. Then, he would force wind chakra into them, which would split the target in half. The less chakra he introduced, the less power the vacuum would generate. He discovered that he could use it as a method of slow torture. Now, keep in mind that he didn't like killing, but the idea of enemies who had done horrible things throughout their lives. Being divided and devoured made him a little dizzy. Throughout this month, Aku had grown up in Naruto, and she told him about her past, how she had a leotard lineage, ice element, and about the lineage purge that was happening in Kirigakure. She told him how her mother told her to hide it and never use it again, but she was too excited to listen. And her father had found her playing with it. Afterwards, it could only be described as chaos. Her father proceeded to gather a mob outside her house and had them attack her mother. Her mother died protecting Aku from the mob, and when her father tried to do the same to her, she unconsciously froze the mob and shattered it right in front of her. Then she ran away as far as she could and spent 3 years on the streets until Zabuza found her, trained her and finally adopted her. It was considered a tool until Naruto stopped those thoughts completely. Flashback scene. Aqua had just finished telling her story with a happy smile on her face, when Naruto surprised her with what he said next. So if you're just a tool, you don't mind Zabuza cutting off your arms and legs, and then letting the horrible blood purge people find you, rape you and torture you while he watches, smiles and laughs. Basically it is saying that you don't like Zabuza, and that you don't care what I say until I order you to do something. Listen to me when I tell you this. You are not a tool, nor will you ever be. Zabuza considers you his daughter and would fight to the death to protect you, because he loves you. Never forget it, or I will find you and make you not. You can't do anything with your arms, legs and chakra, don't let something slip out of your hands. After all, you're lucky that someone thinks of you like that, Naruto said with an expressionless face. He got up and started to walk away, but when Aku saw him leave, he could have sworn he saw tears falling from his chin. Flashback scene. After that incident, Aku stopped calling Zabuza Zabuza-sama and started calling him Tusanaizachin to irritate him. She never considered herself a fool, and when she found Naruto soon after, she saw that he had returned to normal, with no trace of what he had been before. She began to train herself not to consider herself a fool again, and since then she has not done so. That incident reminded him of another one that happened a few days later. Flashback scene. It was dinner time at the Tazuna's house. Everyone was having fun, joking, telling really funny missions. From time to time, even Naruto had added some things that made everyone laugh out loud, except for Inari. At that moment, Naruto had a slight smile on his face before Inari spoke. Why are they here? The cat will kill them. Go away. Inari shouted, getting up, stopping everyone's laughter before Zabuza spoke. You don't have to worry, brat, cat won't do anything, and if he does, he'll have a hard time not peeing on himself. Ez will be there to help and protect you, Zabuza announced surprisingly, bringing smiles to everyone except Inari's faces. Nari and Naruto. Shut up. You'll die anyway. You don't know how much we've had to suffer. You will never understand our pain as long as you stay in your comfortable houses and in your perfect village. She screamed, and Nari with tears in her eyes. Jeku and Kurenai became worried and looked at Naruto. Naruto started laughing to himself, surprising some and saddening others. Then he spoke. Really? We don't know your pain and suffering. There are 4 people here who have had worse experiences than you and one whose life experiences would have had you. Driven crazy in the first year, Shino has been bullied and ridiculed because his clan uses insects. And everyone considers them disgusting insect lovers. That's why their whole clan hides under those layers and shows no emotions, because then others would consider them weak. Even if they are as people as we are. And Mata is treated like trash by her entire clan because she doesn't have enough self-confidence due to an incident from her youth. Zabuza had to kill everyone in her class, including her friends and teachers, whom she had come to adore, to stop the cruel and unusual ways of graduation of the village. Aku had to watch his father kill his mother, and then his father, after which he had to run away and live on the street for years. Naruto said emotionlessly before Inari spoke again. Who is it that would drive me crazy? Inari asked. His sadness and anger subsided as he watched Naruto's face, who contracted in pain before speaking again. That would be me. I was beaten to death, and even died several times, only to wake up the next day perfectly healthy. I was an orphan and knew nothing about his parents, and I was kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 3. They kicked me out of all the shops, and, whenever they let me in, they gave me their worst and worst products that they could find. And they sold them to me at 3 times the normal prices. I had to eat out of the garbage, while ordinary people found me and beat me for something I couldn't control. Unlike you, whose birthday years brought only happiness to me, and sometimes death. The one person I could count on not to hurt me ignored me for most of my life, and didn't know these things were happening to me. Until it was too late. After 2 years like this, I finally made a friend, and it was the burden that had been imposed on me. I also met one of my sensei, who taught me almost everything, if not everything that I know, without holding a grudge. My only 2 friends were my sensei and my cargo, and they were considered demons from head to toe, but when they saw what had happened to me, they thought it was cruel. My only friends are voices in my head that they're trying to kill me for, Naruto said before calmly getting up and walking out of the house, leaving a stunned group behind, except for Kurenai and Jeku, both of whom had dejected expressions. Sensei, is that true? Inada asked. Yes, but the worst thing is that, of everything he said, everything was true, but they were also the easy parts of his life. I mean, he gave you the lighter, but more version, Kurenai replied, and as Heku got up from his seat and followed Naruto. With Naruto? What do you want, sensei? Naruto asked without emotion, which made Heku shudder slightly. I just have some questions, Naruto, Heku replied as he moved next to Naruto and sat down, instructing Naruto to do the same. But he got a little sad when Naruto didn't. If it's about Kubisama, you'll still have to see to what Okage Gigi about it, and Naruto replied as he turned around and stared at Heku in the eyes. No, I found out about everything from Okage-sama shortly after we met. He told me everything I needed to know, except a few details. I just wanted to ask you about the intentions of Kyubi and Gluttony. With you, I want to be sure that I can trust that they won't hurt you in any way, unless it's to train you or defend you. Heku replied as Naruto sat next to him and sighed heavily. Okay, there you go, sensei, I'll let you meet them and you can interrogate them there, Naruto said, as he put his hand on Jeku's shoulder. Wait, what do you mean? His question was interrupted when he was transported to a different area. In the mindscape, Jeku looked around and saw that he was in a kind of sewer that had pipes running along each wall, with knee-deep water and a big door in front of him. Naruto, where are we? Heku asked as he studied his surroundings. We are in my mental landscape, there you sensei. It was Naruto's simple response as a rumble began to resonate behind the door. Soon after, 2 large, red, slitted eyes opened and zoomed in, revealing the mountain fox. Surprising and startling Heku by adopting his taijutsu posture. "You foolish mortal, if I wanted you to die you would be. Besides, these huge bars prevent me from doing anything. And I wouldn't do anything even if I wanted to," the huge beast said as another voice came from his right. "He's right, you know," the voice said as it revealed Shingo in his human form walking towards them. "Hi Shingo-sensei, Kyugi-sama, I guess you saw our conversation," Naruto asked, getting a nod from both of them before Heku made his presence known. "Wait, is that your Shingo-sensei? But how is he here? I saw him outside the other day, remember?" Heku asked quickly as he relaxed. "Well, that would be because Shingo-sensei is actually an invocation. It's the sword I carry on my back. All the swords I carry from now on will be some form of the 7 deadly sins, and when I get one of them, they will reside in my mind while I use them outside of it. By the way, this is the human form of Shingo-sensei. He uses it to teach me more easily. Kyubi-sama says he has one too, but he refuses to show it to me until I've earned the right, as he likes to say," Naruto answered while Heku evaluated Shingo before launching into a quick marathon of questions that lasted a few hours in the mind. But 20 minutes outside. End of the flashback. After that incident, Inari didn't leave his room for days unless he had to eat or go to the bathroom. Heku had started entrusting Shingo with Naruto's training. After all, who else could teach you how to wield and use a sword other than the sword itself? Although I still distrusted the Kyugi, I trusted him. Heku had stopped teaching Kenjutsu to Naruto so that Shingo could teach him, while he gave him tips to improve here and there. However, Zabuza continued to teach him Kenjutsu, as he had more experience with swords that were too big. It was the last day of the bridge construction, and everyone was busy keeping an eye on Tazuna. Everyone believed that Gato would leave Tsunami and Nari alone, as they proved to be useless if they had them. But, unfortunately, they were wrong, because they began to hear a loud march from the other side of the bridge. As they looked, they saw what they thought were between 200 and 250 bandits. "Wrong kite, it's 289. We'll have to focus more on your observation skills later," Kyubi said from inside Naruto's mind. Izensei replied to Naruto while studying the group. "Naruto tries to find Cat. He is our main target. The secondary would be to eliminate the rest," Heku said as he watched the small army in front of them with Zabuza. "Cat is not here," and said Zabuza, as indeed he did not see my cat trace. "Wait, someone